So I've been going around looking at comments on certain videos, and some people are still a little weary about maintaining a hybrid. And the main thing is centered around the battery, the 12 volt battery under the back seat on Toyota cars. From my experience, I'm at 281,000 miles. For the maintenance, that's, say, different from traditional gasoline engines, is really nothing. The maintenance is the same exact as a traditional gasoline car. Now, you have the inverter coolant right there. It's the same coolant as the traditional radiator coolant, so you just have a higher capacity. So you could have you have to use let's say more coolant. But it's going to cost you roughly around the same price. You have to check the capacity for the inverter coolant and versus the traditional radiator coolant. But the cost is pretty much going to be the same. You have the coil packs, all right, spark plugs, engine oil. You still have the 12 volt battery. This is the electric motor right here that spins the engine. All right. So people seem to be worried about the high voltage battery. Well, let's say on a luxury car, you have more things that could possibly fail, right? More things that could possibly fail. People still buy luxury cars and they deal with it. From my experience, this battery has not degraded to the point that I actually noticed. And I bought this car June 2019 in Pennsylvania. Right, and I haven't seen any significant battery degradation that I'm worried about. Now, if the battery degrades to a point where it won't hold a charge, you won't be able to start the electric motor here. The electric motor turns the engine. So the 12 volt battery does not turn the engine. All right, so if that hybrid battery in the back dies, this engine won't turn. You'd have to charge the high voltage battery in the back. So that's the main concern that I see that people have. So I've had this car for what, almost 5 years now. June 2019. I think it's what, 5 years now. And I haven't noticed any significant degradation. I have over 481,000 miles on it, so I would think the constant charging and depletion, like, what do you think? Is the constant charging and depletion worse than time? Because to say 481,000 miles, you would say that would take 15 years, right? 15 years? You can put in the comments how much you think 480, let's say 500,000 miles. I'm probably going to hit 500,000 miles. How long will 500,000 miles take to get on a normal car for normal driving? Let's say 30 miles a day, something like that. All right, I drive 350 to 450 miles a day. So the maintenance on a hybrid is not different. You don't have to maintain anything extra. You don't maintain the hybrid battery. All right, it either fails or it keeps working. All right, what else do we have here? We got the air filter. All right, normal. If something goes wrong here, you have to replace it. Now, what's under warranty? I believe the hybrid battery and the motor, if I'm not mistaken, is covered under the limited warranty. I think it's 100,000 miles. Don't quote me on how many miles. It's not covered under the powertrain warranty. So they'll cover you if you do normal driving. You'll reach the miles accordingly. Now, if you do excessive driving, what some people might consider excessive driving, like I do, you're going to be out of that warranty for a long time. Okay. Well, you're going to be out the warranty in a shorter amount of time. All right. I was outside of my warranty, I think, in the first 2 years for the hybrid battery, and I believe that the motor is also covered under that limited warranty. All right, and a powertrain warranty would be the, if I'm not mistaken, the engine and the transmission, which is right under the electric motor here. All right, so there's a 016 oil too. So the hybrids, that's another thing. The hybrids use the more exclusive oil, which is a little harder to find. So all the oil I think I found it at Walmart one time. It's just been probably the timing, you know. I go to the AutoZones, I go to the Advanced Autos. I don't see the 016. I see the 020. Now the newer cars, I think 2025s, are going to have even lower oil. I think 0.8. 0W8. All right, so I'm sure that oil is going to be more expensive. I believe I got 3 gallons for $100, just over $100. So yeah, you got the oil cost. So well, you might as well go for electric if you're on the electric thing. And then you won't have the oil thing, but you'll have the battery degradation thing, you know. Now, when I first bought the car in June 2019, I was about to get the Prius, and in 2019, and I reversed it, and I heard that beeping sound, and I was so annoyed by that beeping sound. I was like, don't want to get that. I want to hear the beeping sound. It just annoyed me. And then I asked, do they have any other hybrids? And they said they had the Corolla. I didn't even know they had a hybrid Corolla. And I got the Corolla. It looked like a normal car, because first brand new car. Before that I had used Toyotas, used Hondas, a Camaro, IROC 1985 IROC Z. Had a 94 Altima. The Honda was a 91 5-speed Accord. So this is my first new car in 2019. I purchased or financed. All right, I had the title, I own the car. I have almost 500,000 miles in the car. 481, I think. We'll get the mileage. So wheel bearings, I've done wheel bearings. I've done the shocks, the struts. That's it. The spark plugs, coil packs seem to be firing in proper order. Air filter, I actually got to check that. I haven't checked that in a while. Wiper blades, obviously I got to change the wiper blades. I had some front end damage from storms. I had shutter grill issues. Well, that was from the accident, I think. Yeah, because on the hybrids they have the electronic shutter grill, meaning it opens and closes with temperature. And that was giving some malfunctions, and I bought a scan tool and I figured it out. So you may have some electronic shutter grill issues. So what I believe that system does, it helps the engine warm up faster, so it closes to let the temperature rise, get to normal operating temperatures. It opens up the cooler off, and then depending on the temperature, it opens and closes. So normally when you have a problem with the shutter grill, there's something physically blocking it or something wrong with the solenoid, which that thing is if I'm not mistaken, it was a couple $100. The motor that controls the shutter grille. But I had a little issue with that. I figured it out. It was just a little adjustment I had to make. It was debris, or when it was put back together by collision, they didn't do it right. Yeah. And remember, when these people in collision put your car back together, they might not put all the pieces back how they're supposed to be, either because the parts that they ordered don't actually fit. So yeah, there's supposed to be plastic all right here. This is not my doing. This is the front end damage. They either didn't want to, or it didn't fit because of the aftermarket bumper. If it's aftermarket, I can't really tell. Well, they say the car never really goes back the same when you do collision work on it. You know, it wasn't by the dealer. 2 times. One was the dealer, another one was Caliber Collision, if I'm not mistaken, the name of it. And yeah, whatever. I don't know. So fuses. Well, you have some more fuses, but that's not really an excuse. You have I guess a more sophisticated braking system. You have normal brakes. Actually, your brakes last a lot longer. I actually have not done the rear brakes on this car yet. All right, which I will probably do this Saturday, this weekend. I'll do the rear brakes. Front brakes I've done one time. Am I gonna work that front brakes? One time, yeah, one time last summer, 2023. So why are you afraid, if you are, of getting a hybrid? It's really because of that battery. All right, it's an additional electronic parts. You know, by using batteries, that they degrade over time. But from my experience, I believe this one was built in Japan. I do not experience significant degradation of that battery, and I got it to 4. And I live in the Northeast, in the United States, so we get all the seasons here. All right, I've not noticed a significant battery degradation that I can notice. Not that I have an excellent memory of 2019 to 2024 June. If you're afraid of degradation of the battery, I assure you, it's the chances of you getting a defective, and that's what would have to happen. You would have to get the defective battery that slip through the cracks. When they test cars, they do a certain percentage of this, what they manufacture, and then that one slipped through the cracks. Yeah, see green crunchies with a. You see that? Spray that down or replace that. That's a ground strap. Yeah, that's a ground strap. So, what's your excuse? So now, if I'm saying that, if I trust this smaller hybrid battery, why wouldn't I trust a bigger battery? Well, the bigger battery is going to be more expensive. Now, for the hybrid battery, I've seen for $2,000 to $2,500. I just did a quick search. Now, I didn't check specifically for the Corolla 2020. And I'm not sure the differences between the different models of Toyota hybrids. They may all be the same one. Well, I know, I'm not sure. So would I trust a larger, more higher capacity battery, like such as a Tesla? Wasp or something in there. Get out the way. All right. I don't think I'm ready yet to trust a higher capacity battery. Now, I'm not sure what the warranty is on let's say the use of Teslas, for example. I'm not sure what I would more so trust a fuel cell, because the fuel cells, they use hydrogen to generate electricity. So it's an electric car. The fuel cells I'm referring to. It's an electric car, but they use hydrogen to fuel the fuel cell. And the fuel cell creates electricity, and the electricity turns the motor, the electric motor, and the fuel cell cars. All right. So Teslas and full EVs. I believe Tesla, well, in America anyway, they have the Chinese electric cars I'm hearing that are longer range. I've done a video on I think that was on a hybrid though. I think that was on a hybrid electric cars. The previous video I'd done for the Chinese. I don't think they'll ever see the light of day in America, but I think overall hybrids are they're just better cars than traditional gasoline cars. You know, when cars first started to be mass produced, I'm sure people were just thinking the same thing about going from the horse to the car, that how much was this going to cost to maintain. But the car was so much better than a horse. You get farther, just had to put gasoline in it. And I'm sure they broke down too. Obviously they broke down. But there was my point is there was anxiety on things breaking and how you're going to maintain them. And you had people that were the first adopters of hybrids in the late 90s with I believe Honda. And then Toyota, I believe, surpassed Honda in the say electrification of the automobile. But you still have the 12-volt traditional battery. This powers the accessories, doors and windows. I don't believe it powers the air conditioner though. I believe the hybrid battery powers the air conditioner. Don't quote me on that. All right, so if you are worried about getting a hybrid, from my experience, with over 481,000 miles on this 2020 Toyota Corolla, first year they made the hybrid for the Corolla, I haven't had any issues with the hybrid system. Now, you may get, with the battery, like degradation. That's what I'm referring to. Now, there's a fan. Let me show you. I think it's blocked. Stuff back there. Back here. You probably can't see it, but under the seat, there's a fan. And sometimes when the fan is blocked by something, like I have a lot of like boxes and cargo back there, it will throw a code saying the hybrid system or something about the fan needs attention or needs maintenance, something like that. All you need to do is make sure you keep the bottom vents of the hybrid battery clear, and that code will never come up unless you have a lot of buildup of dust, which rarely will happen. Mainly is because people have seat covers covering it up, and the temperature rises and it throws a code. Or not even a code, actually. It throws just a warning. All right. So just be mindful of seat covers. Make sure if you put seat covers in the back seat, make sure you fold it up to a point where it's not blocking the vents. All right. Oh, what other problems? Water. Yeah, if you it may not be exclusive to hybrid stuff. If you drive in certain deeper puddles, you're going through, and the road dips down and you got to go through the water, you'll get your traction, not the traction, your cruise control will go out. Now I don't think that's exclusive to hybrids, or maybe. Yeah, that's my first new car. It'll go out, and that's fine. In heavy rainstorms, my cruise control has gone out, not even going through puddles. Now, I don't know if that was because of the front end damage, and I'm losing my metal plastic on the bottom. You're not supposed to see anything down there, actually. It's supposed to be all covered up. That was from front end damage that they didn't replace after, dealership and I forget which one, dealership or the caliber collision. But eventually, it got so mangled down there, they had to just tear the plastic off. And from the front end damage. I believe that first accident, it crushed, this whole thing was crushed. And I was hoping it wouldn't damage the engine. Well, if it did, it would have totaled the car. Yeah, this was replaced, and then the plastic wasn't replaced on top of it. So that was that. The cruise control was water. Heavy rain. Yeah, heavy rain will knock the cruise control out. That's it. But the actual hybrid system, this looks like a computer or something. Yeah. Computer, yep. Going straight to the motor. I haven't had any problems, no computer codes. The battery did take a dump. I just get the closest battery I could find, I could fit, because I was stranded in here. And, I haven't had any O2 sensors or lambda sensors or not mass airflow, MAF sensors. I don't think it's having a mass airflow. I think it's right has a map sensor probably somewhere. Maybe be a idle air control, or that might be the MAF. That might be the mass airflow sensor right there. Not sure. Haven't had any issues with any sensors, any codes, just oil changes. Now, I probably should drain my coolant and inverter fluid. And I'm looking at the color, it still looks the original color, but I don't want it. It has over practically 500,000 miles. I shouldn't just be going by the color. But that's a little bit dirtier, so I can't really tell the color. It looks a little less pink. I should do a flush, because after a while the fluid becomes acidic and it'll start to eat through the hoses. As you can see here, got a T off, and then one T goes to the radiator, other T looks like it goes onto the engine. Alright, so either way, the coolant circulates through the engine to cool it down, comes back to the radiator, lets off the heat. Alright, haven't flushed any of those yet. Alright, brake fluid. I didn't flush, but when the front brakes were done, what was I doing up here with the front brakes? What was I doing? No, I think the brakes have been done. No, the brakes have been done one time. When I was doing the hub assembly, I forgot to press the piston, hold the piston down. And when I turned the car on to readjust the steering wheel I should have recorded that too, that would have been a good video. I pressed the brakes to turn the car on, to press the brake, hit power button, turn the car on, and I blew the piston out of the brake caliber. That would have been a good video to record. I didn't record it, and I had to repair the piston. I had to put the seal in exactly right, and I actually figured it out on the spot. And there was a ring there. I had to put that on together. And I put it together. I think it took me about, because I didn't want to put it together wrong. I had to go to work. I put it together, and it worked perfectly. And during that process, I had to pretty much bleed the front out. And so I pretty much got a good amount of new brake fluid in there. So you could say I kind of did a flush on that because of my mistake of not securing the caliber with the C-clamp when I was doing the hub assembly on that side, on the driver's side. All right, both hub assemblies are done. I believe both of them should be on this YouTube channel. Both hub assemblies, or at least one of them are. All right, so lesson learned. Okay, that's the first time I did the wheel assembly, and just wasn't thinking. And I went to turn the wheel and adjust it, and I blew the piston out. brake fluid everywhere. Good thing I had brake fluid with me. And let's see, yeah, and it with me. Yes, it's still there. And I got through that. So, hybrid is a good car. I would recommend the hybrid over the traditional gasoline engine 10 times out of 10. Well, except if you're going to be pulling something. If you're going to be pulling something, then you'll be putting more, well, not really, because the transmission on the hybrids is just so much better. Because this transmission is the fluid is just lubricant, it's not hydraulic. So you don't got to worry about, you know, a filter or the transmission, you know, holding a certain amount of pressure, you know, hydraulic pressure. I mean, you know, it's just fluid. So when that video's done, just put in I'll put the link in the description box for the my first one. I only took pictures. My second one, that was more recent, I did an actual video. So all you do is drain the fluid out and put the fluid back in with the car leveled, you know. So these are overall better transmissions. You don't have to worry about, you know, you know, back in the day, you know, you put in drive, you step on the gas, and the engine's revving up, and the car not going nowhere, you know, because it lost pressure, or one of the torque converter, something wrong with the torque converter. All right. Or you drain the fluid. This is a big one. You drain the fluid and you put the new fluid back in, then the transmission's all of a sudden, you think the mechanic, they screwed you over because, you know, metal shavings came out with it, and the old fluid was keeping certain pressures in the transmission. Then you drained it, and it released the pressure and cleaned it out, and now it's not holding proper pressure in the transmission. You ain't got to worry about that with the electronic CVT transmission. All right. I should do a video on the difference between traditional transmissions and the electronic CVT transmission. And when I looked it up, I believe it's not actually a CVT transmission. It is called a CVT, electronic CVT. Just I guess more people will understand it better by putting CVT after it. But traditionally it's called eCVT, but I don't actually think it's an actual CVT transmission. But anyway, it's just lubricant, and that's big. One of the main things I was always worried about when I was younger anyway is that transmission going to go? I remember thinking that. In my Toyota Camry, well, really only in my 94 Nissan Altima, I was always worried about it. Is this transmission going to go? I was afraid to change the transmission fluid in that. I don't think I've ever did before I got, well, I think I got into an accident. Someone made a U-turn in front of me and I T-boned them. And that's how that got rid of that car. And yeah, I was always worried about the transmission going. You know? And so I would never do the fluid. I was always saying when I drain that fluid, it's not good. You know, that's how I've always used to hear. It's gonna some cavities that were, you know, being held together by old fluid. You know, might be superstition, but that's how I used to remember hearing. And then, you know, when you drain the fluid, then it gets cleaned out and it doesn't hold the pressure. You know, so maybe that's the wrong way of thinking. You can, you know, put it in the comments whether that was wrong. I know if you've all heard something similar. All right, if you have any experience, you know, with cars in the 90s and early 2000s. So I've never done a transmission fluid change in any cars I've ever had. Well, except for when I got the clutch, it was at the 5-speed. I think I did the fluid change on the 5-speed Honda Accord. But the automatic transmissions I've had, I've never done the fluid changes. Some you could say neglect also, or not even thinking about it, but I do remember that thought of draining that fluid and transmission not being the same. With these hybrids, it's lubricant. All right, it's the transmission's fluid is lubricant. Now it uses the Toyota, it was WS, automatic transmission fluid, but it acts as a lubricant. All right, so hopefully this video eased your worry, if you were worried about purchasing a hybrid vehicle, Toyotas at least, because I've gotten this car nearly to 500,000 miles, and the maintenance is the same. You're not maintaining the high voltage battery under the back seat. If it fails, it just fails. And if you bought it brand new, well, I think you used to, but as long as whatever comes first, I believe 100,000 miles or 10 years, something like that. Don't quote me on the exact numbers, but the battery is covered under the limited warranty, if that's the thing you're worried about. But the maintenance, actually maintaining this car versus a traditional gasoline engine, the brakes are another thing. Your brakes are going to be it's going to be less frequent. I've only done the brakes on this one time. Make sure I don't have the brakes. Yeah, it was just the one time. And that's just the front. And the rear, I have to do, I believe they're very low. I need to get those done. It's actually going to be less, actually, if you're talking about the brakes. If you include the brakes in the maintenance, it's going to be less over time, because everything else is the same. Okay, you have you got more fluid to cool the inverter down, but otherwise you have traditional, radiator, you get the AC condenser up here, air filters, spark plugs, coil packs. There's nothing extra. It's a 12-volt battery. You're not maintaining anything else extra. Brake fluid right there. So the maintenance is actually going to be lower. If you think it's going to be higher, put in the comments section and tell me why maintenance is going to be higher. All right? This maintenance has not been higher for me. I put gas in it. I changed the oil. I changed the spark plugs. Over time, parts wear out on the actual car, When I say maintain, I'm referring to the engine and the transmission. It's the same. All right, and you can say the brakes too, because the brakes are going to last much longer than traditional car brakes are going to last. All right. Now you can say I'm a little biased because I've done a lot of highway miles. Okay, but on hybrids, the deceleration is not only by the brakes, but the engine helps you brake also. So it's going to save on your brakes when you downshift, when a car is downshifting. All right, the engine helps you brake also. So even if you're doing city driving, your brakes are still going to last longer on a hybrid, much longer. Don't quote me on the actual mileage, but for 5 years, done these brakes one time. Okay, hobby miles though, hobby miles. All right, so I recommend you buying a hybrid. All right, depending on your lifestyle. My next vehicle, hopefully, will be the Toyota RAV4 Hybrid. I need more cargo space. I need more room. So I've outgrown a compact sedan. Now on that car, I believe there's an additional electric motor in the back that's going to propel the rear wheels or give it like assistance. I don't believe there's a physical drive shaft for the hybrids. All right. By the way, I recommend Toyota hybrids. Do not be afraid to invest in Toyota hybrids. It will last you forever. Just get that oil, keep that oil changed properly depending on your driving. Change the spark plugs. Drain the lubricant for the transmission. It's not hydraulic. And this car will run for you. All right. I'm gonna spend a little bit more on the 016. Well, I think the 016 and 020s are, I think, the same price. I think a lot of cars use 020 now, right? So the hybrids are 016. So it's either going to be the same or less to maintain this car. All right, buy a hybrid. I recommend buying a hybrid.